Several years ago, my principal at Krieger Schechter Day School in Baltimore informed me that I would be part of the first cohort to learn to use storytelling as a teaching strategy. I was very reluctant at first because I am very uncomfortable with performance of any kind in front of people. I like to say that my comfort zone was in a completely different zip code. But I took the course and participated in it, and since then I have just found that the storytelling has been an invaluable technique for my teaching, both to use as a teacher and with my students in many different subject areas at all grade levels. In preparation for the first story that I learned to tell, I was asked to think of something that I already taught but wanted my students to care more about or to make more of a connection with. At that time, I was teaching an 8th grade Jewish history class, and we were having a whole semester about the early Zionism and the founding of the State of Israel. For several years, I had taken the passage from Amos Oz's book, A Tale of Love and Darkness, that told of the evening of November 29th, 1947, when the partition vote came before the United Nations. I thought it was just such a compelling and dramatic passage, and we'd read it together, and somehow the students just weren't connecting. I was always trying to say, do you see what an important evening it was? Do you see how emotional this was? And they read, and it didn't quite connect. It was also a challenge because it was a selection from the book that the students hadn't read what came before, and there were certain elements that were out of context. So that was the piece of teaching that immediately came to mind. I wrestled with how to set it because there were several different parts of the story. I tried a few different tries at voices, third person, first person, second person, settled on first person. We were asked to also think about images and how to use body language. So one of the things that I really thought about was that ending that Amos Oz puts of his left hand seeing the tears of his father. So that became a very important image to me. I also learned about various techniques like the use of silence, pausing, and many different ideas. We're also asked to think about what our MIT, most important thing, was. And for me, that most important thing was helping students just get that connection of how that vote, that evening, that decision of the United Nations was really a connection of the Jewish people's past and a looking forward to our future. And it was such an important event and such an emotional one for so many people. And I wanted to help them see that. And I really felt that once I started telling it as a story, that became much more meaningful to them and that connection was made.